The 2025 January transfer window is now well underway, and in today's video I'm going to be suggesting one player that every League 2 club should sign as a priority in this transfer window. If you do go on to enjoy, make sure to drop a like on there for me and subscribe to the channel as well if you are new. 200 likes on today's video will be massively appreciated, and don't forget to get your thoughts in down in the comment section down below. Now obviously this is done at the time of recording. Some of these players might have signed for another club by the time you see this video, or that club might have already strengthened in that position. So bear in mind, it is done at the time of recording before you give me some abuse in the comments. Let's get into it. We'll start out firstly then with Bromley FC, and I am suggesting Dom Sadie on loan from Bournemouth's under-21s. Obviously spent the first half of this season on loan with fellow League 2 side Carlisle United, where he managed to 17 starts and 22 total appearances, playing well over 1,500 minutes. He did get 2 goals and 1 assist, which obviously it's not great, but when you factor in Carlisle have really struggled for goals so far this season, he was one of their bigger threats before he was recalled, and I think recently was on the bench for Bournemouth in their last couple of matches. But I think he would just be a decent player, another option for Bromley to have, cheap on the wages and all that sort of stuff. I don't think Bromley are going to be in too much trouble of relegation come the end of the season. I feel like Dom Sadie could certainly add to their attacking threats. Next up then we go to Cheltenham Town, and I'm going to suggest Josh Andrews from Gillingham. This could be a loan, this could be a permanent. Obviously spent the first half of last season with Accrington Stanley, then signed for Gillingham, and I believe has struggled with injuries throughout his time with the Gills. Recently has returned a little bit, but he's only managed to 2 starts all so far this season. And I look at the forward options that Cheltenham have. Matty Taylor's found himself out of favour. Ryan Bowman hasn't really hit the ground running. George Miller hasn't been awful so far this season, but I think Josh Andrews as another bigger physical sort of striker. He proved at Accrington he can play in a one-man system, he can play in a 2-striker system as well, and I think probably a loan deal would be the best for all parties, and he'd go there and probably bag 5 goals between now and the end of the season, which for a second choice striker I don't think it'd be too bad. And obviously then maybe Gillingham can recoup some of their money. I think Josh Andrews to Cheltenham would be a good signing, although a midfielder I think might be a good suggestion as well. Next up then we go to MK Dons, and I'm going to suggest Teo Adaramola on loan from Crystal Palace. It was confirmed a couple of days ago that he has returned to Crystal Palace's loan has been cancelled with Stockport County, and he did really struggle for minutes so far this season. Just the 6 total appearances and only 3 league starts for him so far this campaign. He has proven in the past that there is a bit of quality there, but he just needs to play consistently, and I think MK Dons would be the best place for him. Joe Tomlinson hasn't quite hit the heights that he's done over the last couple of seasons this year, and I feel like they need a bit more competition in that position, and alone until the end of the season I think Teo Adaramola would be a very good signing for the franchise Dons. Obviously with one Gillingham striker going out the door, it means they need to bring one in, and I am suggesting Resource from Mansfield Town. He's out of contract with the club in the summer, and I'm not too sure if you want to do this on a loan or a permanent. I know recently has struggled with injuries a little bit, but now 30 years of age, he needs to be playing consistent football, and has really struggled for minutes so far this season in League 1 for the Sags. Just 4 total appearances. He's not even played 90 total minutes yet, and I know he had an injury, then came back, and then he had some sort of problem again. But I think Resource needs to play regularly, and I don't see him doing that at Mansfield with Will Evans, Lee Gregory, Lucas Akins all ahead of him at this moment in time. They've got some other striking options as well, so I believe Gillingham should go out and sign Resource. He's proven in the past he can certainly score goals at this level. If we go back to the 22-23 season, no, was it maybe the season before that, the 21-22 season, he got 10 goals and 6 assists in 37 starts. There is a good player in Resource, it's just about finding the right manager to unlock that. I see John Coleman being the man to be able to do so, and I think Resource to Gillingham just makes sense. Next we go to Chesterfield FC, and it's pretty obvious they need a Dylan Markande replacement, with James Berry also set to move up to League 1 to either Blackpool or Wickham. Jaden February I think would be a perfect loan addition this season. I know he's had the odd injury problem and all that sort of stuff, but he's only managed to 4 starts for Stockport this season. Even when he's been fit and available, he hasn't really been given that opportunity by Dave Chow. Obviously spent the last couple of seasons with Colchester. I believe that if he goes to Chesterfield, he's not going to be a like-for-like replacement for Dylan Markande, but he can get them goals, he can get them assists, and I know he has picked up an injury recently, but he should hopefully be back very soon. You look at last season, 4 goals and 4 assists in 40 starts. There is a very good player in Jaden February, and I believe Paul Cook would be able to take him to that next level. Then you look back into the summer that's about to come up, then he'd be fit and firing, ready to go and start consistently for Stockport County in League 1. I mean, they could even be in the Championship Championship by then. Barrow AFC up next then, and it's clear to see they need some defensive additions. So I'm going to suggest Luke Matheson. I still don't really understand how you pronounce his name, from Bolton Wanderers. He obviously hasn't played much football over the last couple of seasons. I believe he is there in their B team at the moment. He has played a couple of games in the Football League Trophy, and we look at his defensive stats. They look pretty solid in all honesty, and he hasn't really done much career-wise since, I think, did he score against Manchester United for Rochdale when he was like 16? He's not really done much since, but I think a 6-month loan to Barrow would make sense for all parties. He actually played against the Bluebirds back in September, but he hasn't played consistently in League 2 for a couple of years now. Was he on loan at Scunthorpe in that season potentially? So I believe that he needs to go out on loan again, and think Barrow will be a very good destination because they're terrible defensively. Grimsby Town are up next then, and I personally believe they need to improve that right back department. Tyrell Warren hasn't really pulled up too many trees so far this season. I think George Williams would be quite a solid option in all honesty. Out of contract with Mansfield at the end of this season, now 31 years of age, and will provide a wealth of experience to their backline. Has really struggled for minutes so far this season, just 3 total league appearances and only 2 starts for him so far this campaign, but last season was pretty important to the Stags' success. Played 21 times in total. Obviously they did end up getting promoted last season as well. Defensively pretty solid when you factor in a lot of them appearances were from the bench, but I think an 18-month deal, it's probably going to cost you 5-10 grand in terms of a transfer fee. He would massively improve their defence, and I think this would be a really good signing for David Artell's side. Moving over to Fleetwood Town next, and I'm suggesting another Mansfield Town fullback, and that is Callum MacDonald. Again, out of contract with the club in the summer, now 27 years of age. I think would be a really solid option for the Cods to have. They've only really got Mackenzie Hunt as a natural left back, and I believe Callum MacDonald would be a very solid signing. He has only played 14 league minutes so far this season, but last season was quite influential for the Stags. He played 1,216 minutes in total. No goal contributions, but again, defensively does look pretty solid. Wins a fair amount of his duels as well. His crossing percentage at 21 is pretty decent, and I feel like Pete Wild will be able to get the best out of him once more. He needs to start playing regular first team football once again. I don't think Mansfield even got him registered in the squad, so I think this one to Fleetwood makes sense for all parties. My team, Bradford City, are up next then. I'm going to keep banging this drum until it bursts. Freddie Draper is perfect. He is the man that we need. I know the Lincoln manager came out after their last game and said, you know, he's not for sale, because I think Walsall bid 230 grand, I believe, but money talks in football. Stefan Rupp, get the payment done. Get the checkbook out, put your hand in your pocket, and get Freddie Draper to Bradford City. Last season in League 2 for Walsall, he got 10 goals and 3 assists in 21 starts, and that was at 18, 19 years of age. He's now 20. He's played quite a lot of League 1 football this season, but only 4 of them games have been starts. With now Lincoln bringing in James Collins, I don't see him getting many minutes with the Imps, so it makes sense. Just, I know he's going to cost a lot in terms of a transfer fee, but he's the perfect ideal replacement for Andy Cook. We've not got enough firepower at this moment in time at the top end of the pitch. Callum Kavanagh has recently hit a bit of form. Michael Mellon, while did very well with Morecambe, hasn't done anything in his last 2 loan spells, and Verdane Oliver is largely useless for Bradford City. Freddie Draper is the perfect man to replace Andy Cook. With him being out for the season with the ACL injury, I cannot stop banging on about Freddie Draper because he's so perfect to replace Andy Cook. Just spend the money. Colchester United are up next then, and I'm suggesting that they sign Saxon Early on loan from Plymouth Argyle. He went to Lincoln City in the summer on loan and just didn't play at all. He's not played a single match, I don't think, for them so far this season. He's got 2 games in the EFL Trophy, only 1 of them being starts. But we go back to the 22-23 season when he was with, I think, Stevenage, couple of assists in there, defensively very good, got a load of clean sheets, and I think he would be a really good asset for Danny Cowley's side to have. I think he'd really take them to the next level. He needs to start playing regular first team football, with it looking pretty likely Plymouth will be in League 1 next season. He could maybe then earn himself a starting spot there, but he's never going to do that at this moment in time if he's just not playing football. I think he was recalled by Plymouth, obviously, in this transfer window because he just wasn't playing at Lincoln, so I'd like to see him move to Colchester United on loan. Doncaster Rovers are up next then, and their squad is pretty strong, but I'm suggesting Odin Bailey on loan from Stockport County. Has really struggled for minutes so far this season consistently, had the odd start here and there, but a lot of them have come off the bench. He's not even played 750 minutes so far this season. He still managed 2 goals in the division above, but we look at his stats last time he was in League 2. He got 2 goals and 8 assists, 10 goal contributions contributions in 25 starts is really impressive numbers, and I think a loan move for him just makes sense really when he's not getting that consistent football at Stockport County. He'd then add quite a lot to Grant McCann's side, so I personally believe Odin Bailey will be the perfect addition to the Rovers team. Next up then, we move to Newport County, and I'm suggesting 30-year-old attacker Ben Tollett from Morecambe FC. Out of contract with the club in the summer, and I'm sure Morecambe will be desperate to keep hold of him, but if the transfer fee's right, Morecambe are not really in a position where they can turn any real type of transfer fees down at this moment in time. 22 starts for him this season, 6 goals and 2 assists. I think 8 goal contributions in a struggling Morecambe side. His averages a goal contribution 1 in every less than 3 matches. I think it's a very good return in all honesty, and I think an 18-month contract maybe that Newport could offer him, it would just add another option for them at the top end of the pitch. A bit more creativity, a goal scorer as well. He works really hard, and I think he is a very tidy player. It's quite hard to suggest someone for Newport because they're not really doing much this season either end of the table, but I think Ben Tollett would certainly add to them. Morecambe obviously might be a bit reluctant to sell to a potential relegation rival, but I think if I have to suggest someone, I'm going to go with him. Before we do go any further though with today's video, don't forget to drop a like on there for me and subscribe to the channel as well if you are new. Can we try and hit 200 likes as I said at the start of today's video? That'd be massively appreciated, and don't forget to get your thoughts in down in the comment section down below. If you could only sign one player for your League 2 club, who would that be and why? Next up then, we go to Notts County, and I'm suggesting Elliot List from Stevenage FC. Out of contract with the club in the summer, he's been there for a very long time now. It feels like he's a lot older than 27. Has had injury problems over the last couple of seasons, but with the amount of departures offensively that Notts County recently have had, obviously Dan Crowley going to MK Dons, Giovanni Brown going back to Bristol Rovers, and Josh Martin not being offered a new contract by the football club, they need to get another attacker in. Obviously Sedwin Scott as well has also left it to Carlisle, so I see Elliot List being a really good option for them to have at the top end of the pitch. Has played quite a lot of football this season, 12 starts, 21 total appearances, nearly 1,100 minutes played. He's got 4 goals, which is actually pretty decent in all honesty, with a 20% goal conversion rate. He might cost you 100, 150 grand, but he is out of contract with the club in the summer, so I don't think it'll be a lot of money. I think the rumours of Macaulay Langstaff coming back on loan are unrealistic for me. Obviously, if they do manage to get that over the line, that almost guarantees them for a top 3 spot surely, but Elliot List for me I think would be a perfect signing for Notts County. Next up is Accrington Stanley, and we all know they've not got the biggest of budgets. They do a lot of their recruitment in non-league, but I think Jack Ellis would be a tidy signing for them, give them a bit more competition in the right back position. 21 years of age, obviously playing for Carlisle, but you're thinking, well, if he's quite a poor player, how's he getting a step up in terms of league positions? But I think Jack Ellis really is going to struggle for minutes, and at 21 years of age, he now needs to be playing consistently regular first team football, and he's only got the 3 starts so far this season. I think he will struggle to play the Mike Williamson style of play as a right centre back or as a right wing back, so I think it makes sense really for all parties for this transfer, and obviously Carlisle get a little bit of wages off the wage bill as well, because obviously they're spending very big at the moment. They've got like a 40-man squad. AFC Wimbledon are up next then, and it was very hard to find a player who was realistic enough in terms of a transfer fee who would also then still improve them at the same time, so I think they've recruited very well over the last couple of seasons, but Dan Happ from Leyton Orient is one that I'm going to throw in there. 26 years of age, still got 18 months left on his contract, so he would require a little bit of a transfer fee, but I think Richie Wellens is getting a little bit frustrated with him with how limited his minutes have to be because of his injury problems that he has had, so maybe the less physical demands of League 2 and the less possession-based style would suit Dan Happ a little bit more at a club like AFC Wimbledon. Has still managed the 19 appearances so far this season, and defensively his stats do look very good despite the penalty offence and 2 errors which have led to a shot, but nearly 5 clearances per game, 2.5 balls recovered per game, 5 clean sheets as well so far this season in the division above. It was very hard to pick somebody to sign for AFC Wimbledon, but if I have to pick someone, I think Dan Happ would certainly improve their defence. As a partner to Riley Harbottle, maybe Lewis as well, I think they've got some very good options in that centre-back department now. Swindon Town are up next then, and I'm going to suggest that Tom Hopper from Colchester United. Now, I know that Swindon have got a lot of forwards who don't score a lot of goals, but they've also not really got the money to go out and sign a proven goal scorer. They've got Harry Smith, who I think is a very good option, but then they've not really got another bigger physical sort of striker who can replace him at times if it's needed to chop and change things. So Tom Hopper, I think, could certainly provide that. Would it be a 6-month? Would it be an 18-month deal? That's not really for me to decide, but when you factor in Swindon haven't really got the money to go out and spend a couple $100,000 on a non-league talent, I think Tom Hopper from Colchester would be a good signing. He struggled for minutes so far this season with Samson Tavidi Reedy and Lyle Taylor largely taking up them numbers. He had played quite a lot recently because of injuries, but we've seen in the past he can certainly score goals. Got 4 goals and 3 assists last season. The year before that, I believe also still with Colchester, 1 goal and no assist. But Swindon, beggars can't be choosers, can they? So they're going to sign Tom Hopper. That's probably the best they're going to get. It's really sad what's going on at Swindon Town, and I hope that they get a new owner. The sooner they do that, the better. They can start looking away from players like Tom Hopper, with all due respect, but it's realistic. I like to be realistic, and this is Swindon's ball mark at the moment. Port Vale are up next then, and they've really lacked creativity at times this season. Some people might put that down to Darren Moore, some people might put that down to the players, but Clardy Lolo's obviously last season in League 2 absolutely lit it up with Crawley Town. Gone to Bolton Wanderers and has really struggled for minutes so far this season. Has played a little bit recently, but it is still just the 5 league starts for him, where he's got 2 goals and 2 assists, 4 goal contributions in 5 starts. Some people might be wondering, well, why is Ian Evatt not giving more game time? Well, they've gone out and spent £1 million on Joe Randall, so he's going to get even less game time now. He needs a low move. Some people might say back to Crawley, maybe MK Dons, but I think Port Vale would be a really good move for him. A little bit more creativity to that Darren Moore Arsenal, and I think it would be a really good move for all parties. He's 23 years of age. He needs to be playing regularly. He's not going to get any better sitting on Bolton's bench for the rest of the season, is he? I spoke about how Jamie Walker probably does need to leave Bradford City in a video that I did last week, and his destination, I'm going with Harrogate Town. It probably would be a loan until the end of the season, but now 31 years of age, he finds himself really far down the pecking order. The players who are probably ahead of him at this moment in time, you've got Sarcevic, Poynton, Tommy Lee, George Lapsley, Brandon Kaler, even Callum Kavanagh maybe even to play in them number 10 positions. Then him and Clark Adora kind of competing for that 7th and 8th spot. He needs to go out and be playing regular first team football for the money that he's on. He hasn't quite hit many heights so far this season. 1 goal and 3 assists in 12 starts. It's not awful. I think it would be a good move for Harrogate. Keep him locally, which I think is something he will want to do with his family and all that sort of stuff. You don't want to have another move and then maybe another move in the summer. So I think a low move to Harrogate until the end of the season, even if they're only going to cover £1,500 a week of his wages, it gets that off our books a little bit, and obviously he will move on in the summer. But he has been a very good servant to Bradford City, as I mentioned in the last video, and there is still a very good player in there, but I think we have kind of maybe moved past him a little bit now, so I'd wish him all the best. But I think a move to Harrogate is something that's been rumoured, and I think it would make sense for all parties, especially with Ollie Sanderson going there, and they've got how many of our former players? You already know half the squad. Salford City are up next then, and I'm going to suggest Ben Waine on loan from Plymouth Argyle. He is still with the Stags at this moment in time, but has really struggled for minutes so far this season. Just the 2 starts, not even played 350 minutes. He's got the 1 goal and no assist. I think it's clear to see League 1 was maybe a step too high for him at this moment in time. He needs to drop down into League 2, and I think Salford could do with another attacking option with some of their wide players like Luamba and Kelly Namai, rumoured to be going to other football clubs. I think Ben Waine could come in on loan until the end of the season and provide a bit more attacking cover options, bit of quality in there as well. So I think this is one that makes sense really for all parties. Tranmere Rovers are absolutely awful. Let's not beat around the bush. They are useless. They clearly need some defensive recruits, and I think Cheick Diabate on loan until the end of the season, maybe even a permanent as well, would be a pretty solid signing. Obviously, he spent the first half of the season on loan with my team Bradford City, and I think it would be a big improvement on Tom Davies. I think it'd be a big improvement on Jordan Turnbull. He wasn't perfect for Bradford City, wasn't quite what we were looking for at this time, but again, Tranmere is similar to Swindon. They're in a position where beggars can't be choosers. He's a solid enough League 2 player. He's an improvement on what you've already got, and I think he would certainly add a bit more defensive depth, cover, competition, and I think it just makes sense really for all parties. I think he only got the 10 league starts for Bradford City. Am I right in saying that? Yeah, just the 10 league starts, although I've just seen there, maybe he played in the EFL Cup for Exeter. I don't know if you're playing a cup competition, does that count as one of the 2 clubs that you play for in a season? So maybe he can't leave Exeter. I'm not too sure. Tranmere should just sign him anyway. It'd be a very Palios thing to do, wouldn't it? Crewe Alexandra, I'm going to suggest that Jake Forster-Caskey. Now, I know he's had his injury problems throughout his career, recently started to recover from an ACL, and I think when he's out of a contract with the club in the summer, he needs to be playing regular first team football, but not in a relegation sort of battle, which Stevenage could potentially be dragged into, just to be a bit of a 30 minutes, 20 minutes off the bench play for Crewe until the end of the season, and then he gets his move where he's going to start playing regular first team football. I think think he'd certainly suit the Lee Bell style of play. 30 years of age, so still got loads to offer, but hasn't kicked a ball all so far this season, despite playing 30 games in the league last year where he did get the 4 goal contributions. Very tidy player, very good at left foot in there, and I think would certainly provide some real competition in that midfield for Lee Bell's team. Morecambe FC, they've got absolutely no money, so I'm going to suggest Taylor Charters from Carlisle United. Out of contract with the club in the summer and has really struggled for minutes. There's no beating around the bush so far this campaign. Just the 2 starts, only 6 total appearances. Now that Carlisle have made all these signings, they need to get more players out the door. Taylor Charters has been a decent servant for the football club, but he's just... Carlisle are looking to move past that, and I know maybe selling to a relegation rival does look a little bit suspicious, but again, at Morecambe, they've got about £500 that they can spend on a player per week. They've not really got the finances. Again, beggars really cannot be choosers in their situation, and I think they're absolutely flying so far this season, considering everyone thought they'd be like 06 or 07 Derby or whatever their horrible record was, their equivalent in League Two. I think they've done more than enough to not disgrace themselves so far this season. I think Taylor Charters, another option at the top end of the pitch. Again, young player that he could develop for the future. I think would be a good signing for Derek Adams' side. Walsall FC, they clearly do need a Nathan Lowe replacement, and I'm going to suggest Regan Linney from Altrincham FC. Out of contract with the club in the summer, now 27 years of age, and I think would be a really good signing for the Saddlers. I know I wound a few of them up on Twitter today, but 15 goals, 6 assists, averages a goal every 125 minutes, 26% goal conversion rate, absolutely smashing it so far this season for Altrincham. And I know I've not suggested many non-league talents in this video, and I know he's the top goal scorer in the National League, but Walsall, they've got money to spend, they've got very rich owners, and I do think that not having Nathan Lowe will eventually catch up with them. You can't play Josh Gordon, Albert Adoma up there for the rest of the season. It might get you over the line, but when we're also thinking long term, obviously Walsall are going to be in League One next season. Someone like a Regan Linney would be the perfect longer term replacement for Nathan Lowe, because they've had a lot of loan players where they've gone back in January and then it's like, what do we do now? In the previous 2 seasons, they've not really known how to go around that. This season, they've got so far ahead that they're still going to go up anyway. Obviously, what happened with Danny Johnson, then Freddie Draper, now Nathan Lowe. Walsall Football Club, go and sign Regan Linney. And stop giving me grief on Twitter. It was just a joke. Just a joke. You've not even sold 700 tickets. Calm down. And the final team on this list then is Carlisle United, and Romney Critchlow would be the perfect signing. Obviously spent a bit of this season on loan with Dagenham. He's obviously contracted to Peterborough United, but I think at 25 years of age on a 2.5-year deal would be a really good signing for Carlisle. Former Bradford City player, very good ball playing defender. Last season in League One made 22 appearances. Yes, only 8 of them were starts, but would suit Mike Williamson's style to an absolute T. Left-footed, they need a replacement for your Jack Ellis's, your Ben Barclays, and I think Romney Critchlow defensively is a big improvement, but also technically on the ball very good as well. I think this one makes sense, whether it's a loan, but I think a permanent would certainly suit all parties, very much so, and would be a really good signing for Mike Williamson's side. Let me know if you agree or disagree. But anyway, I'm going to leave it there then for today's video. If you have enjoyed, don't forget to drop a like on there for me and subscribe to the channel as well if you are new. Can we try and hit 200 likes, as I said at the start of today's video? That would be massively appreciated. And don't forget to get your thoughts in down in the comment section down below. Would you be happy if your club had signed the player that I have suggested in today's video? Thank you all so much for watching. Have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you very soon for another one. Peace.